What's up, everyone? It's your boy Ailurus, and today we're doing another installment of the r/EntitledParents series. So, to those who are new to the channel and aren't quite aware with the no commentary story reading style of video, that's exactly what you're watching here. I'm not going to add a lot of commentary. All I'm going to do is just make sure you guys have something to listen to while you're chilling, or while you're playing video games, or eating, or drawing, or maybe even want to hang out with me, your favorite panda boy. So yeah, with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Our first story comes from user The Depression of Trees. This happened when I was about 8 years old, and my parents only recently reminded me that this happened. For some background information, I'm really allergic to potatoes. They give me blisters all over my mouth, and make me violently ill for about 2 days after eating them. Anyway, the story. When I was about 8 years old, I was having a sleepover with my best friend. My mom dropped me off at about noon, so I was going to have dinner at their house. My mother specifically told my friend's mother that I was allergic to potatoes, so she can make something without them. When dinner came around, my friend and I went to eat, and his mother had made us a casserole. But little did I know, the main ingredient was, you guessed it, potatoes. We ate dinner, then went and played until we went to bed. At around midnight, I woke up with my mouth full of bleeding blisters. I ran to the toilet and started violently throwing up. And let me tell you, stomach acid does not feel good on open blisters. I was crying on the floor, blood and puke leaking from my mouth, when the mother walks into the bathroom. She tells me that I need to stop being so dramatic if I want to go anywhere in life, and that allergies aren't real unless you let them. Just a reminder, she's saying this to a crying 8-year-old child who's dry heaving over the toilet, bleeding from the mouth. She goes back to bed, leaving me in the bathroom for the rest of the night. Morning comes around, my mom comes to pick me up. Through my blistered mouth, I tell her what happened, and she goes ballistic. She tells me to go into the car, and I hear her screaming at the other mother from outside. Sufficient to say, that was the last time I ever hung out with my friend at his house. You understand how quickly, if I was in the mother's position, to press charges on this other mom for getting my child sick, even after I explicitly told them not to feed my child potatoes because my kid is allergic? Yeah, I would be very litigious. And to be honest, who wouldn't be? She deserves something to happen to her. Jail time? I don't know. A lawsuit? Definitely. Our next story comes from user Once Upon a Dokata. Basically, as the title says, my parents just never decided to inform me that I was lactose intolerant. As a child, I never liked milk and cheese and yogurt because they were always iffy. The pediatrician was always extremely concerned about my calcium intake because I was borderline underweight and kind of brittle. My mom and grandma always fudged the truth with our pediatrician as they were very obsessed with the image of being perfect parents. Yeah, I know, ironic. So as I get older, I start noticing that every time I drank chocolate milk, I got horrible heartburn that wouldn't go away with any form of heartburn medicine. It was a running joke in my family that I have a mutant medicine resistant heartburn. Now in my family, you don't go to the doctor unless something is broken or you're dying. Anything else is seen as a weakness or as an annoyance, so nothing is done about my mutant heartburn. Eventually, my mom gets annoyed by me constantly complaining about heartburn and gets me Lactaid while dropping, "Oh yeah, you had to be on soy formula because you weren't gaining weight for like the first 2 months of your life on normal formula, and CPS was almost called." Cool, love that. Quick edit, I'm 21, so it's not much of a case of neglect anymore as much as it is an annoyance. Well, yeah, of course now it's not neglect, but as a kid, you had to struggle with that, and your parents thought it was weakness if you couldn't drink milk? Oh man, I'm glad that you're an adult and that you're hopefully away from your family and you are drinking Lactaid or just avoiding, dairy altogether. Jesus. I have never heard of parents or a family even hiding lactose intolerance away from their child, letting their child drink milk and suffer instead of just telling them the truth and getting them help. That is extremely strange. Our next story comes from user FredZRed. This happened in 1998 when I was 8 years old and my sister was 5. From a very early age, I knew that my younger sister was the golden child and could do nothing wrong in my mother's eyes. Mother Dearest was abusive towards me for most of my childhood, until I was 14 and her physical and mental abuse turned towards my sister as well. My parents had separated before my sister was born, and they didn't mesh well together, but tolerated each other for the sake of their kids. Part of the reason why my sister was my mom's favorite child was her love of horse riding, which I was never interested in. The more hostile my mother got towards me, the less interested I got in anything she was interested in. And then came my 8th birthday. I was friends with the next door neighbor's kids and a few kids from school. Although I didn't have many, I loved the friends that I did have and was excited to share my birthday with them. My birthday was on a Friday, but my mom told me that she'd arranged my birthday party for the Saturday, which was fine by me. The day of my birthday came and I got excited. At that age, I hadn't yet had my heart crushed by my mother and her blatant favoritism and abuse, but that was the year I began to hate my birthday. The party was arranged to start at 12 p.m., so I wore my favorite dress and sat outside to wait for my friends to arrive. This was the point that I realized that something wasn't right. Outside was the mother of one of my sister's friends with a Shetland pony in tow. My mother knew I wasn't interested in horses, and even if I was, the horse was too small for an 8-year-old. As more guests started to arrive, my heart broke more and more. These were my sister's friends, not mine. And for the icing on the cake, out came my 5-year-old sister in a Cinderella costume. None of these people were for me. This was supposed to be my party, but instead it became a party for my sister. None of my friends were there. All of the birthday presents were addressed to me, but were things I didn't want. My Little Pony toys and other horse-related gifts were what I got from my mother and the people at the party. The only present I got that wasn't horse-related was from our dad. He came later in the day and wished me a happy birthday, and by that point, the other guests and the pony were gone. I can remember him asking me what was wrong, as I wouldn't come out of my room or talk to anyone. My mother acted dumb and said that she didn't know why I was upset. It wasn't until many years later that my dad found out, what happened. After that day, I didn't want to have a birthday party ever again. Even now at 30, I don't make a big deal out of my birthday. I still celebrate it, but I don't do birthday parties. My sister has changed a lot since then, and I don't hold any grudges for the things our mother did. We don't speak to our mother anymore, and our father died in 2009 when I was 19. It's tough sometimes, but me and my sister are really close, and we have each other to lean on, for support. I'd be lost if it weren't for her. I'm glad that she has her sister, because her mother really gave her a complex over something so joyful. Your birthday's supposed to be something that you look forward to, and now this woman can't. And fortunately enough, she knows why she can't. A lot of adults who experience trauma or abuse at a young age have quirks like that, where they can't celebrate their birthday, or they can't sit in the back seat, or worse, they ask themselves why they can't trust people, or why they can't hang out with certain people. It's because they experienced something in their past, in their youth, that they've forgotten, or most likely repressed. You know that your trauma is the reason why you aren't comfortable with your own birthday. And I don't want to say that that's a positive thing, but it's better than not knowing. If anything, you'll be a better person because of all of this. You'll never treat your daughter like that. And it's sad that you have to experience terrible things to know how to avoid terrible things, right? But that's life, and it ain't fun. I'm glad that this woman got away from her mom eventually, because God forbid she's still associating with her now. Our next story comes from user McFlyJohn. Hi guys, I initially posted this on r/AmITheAsshole, but a lot of people said that they thought you might like this. So the other day, I, 30 years old, male, got lucky and managed to get a hold of a PS5, which are like gold dust in the UK at the moment. Work has been ridiculous this year, and my PS4 broke a few months back. To say I'm hyped for it and some holiday downtime is an understatement. The console finally arrived the other day, and it was left with my neighbor. I knocked on the door, thanked them for taking the parcel, and exchanged some pleasantries. When she casually asked if it was anything nice, I told her it was a PS5. We had the usual small talk, and I went back inside, thinking nothing of it. Later, we had a knock on the door from her husband, 38-ish. He said that his wife had mentioned I'd gotten a PS5 and wanted one for their 7-year-old son. It was all that his son wanted this year, and it's been a tough year for his son, and he's not been able to see his friends much, so I would consider selling it to them for what I bought it for. I said I understood, but I really didn't want to sell it as I was looking forward to playing it. That's when things got a bit weird. He huffed a little and said Christmas should be about kids, and I should really consider how hard it's been for them, and he offered me an extra £50. I said I wouldn't be selling it for any price. I wasn't looking to make money on it, I just really wanted to play it. He left, but said he'd hoped I'd reconsider, and you are, and I, are a bit too old for video games anyway, and walked off. End of story, right? Yeah, that's what I thought too. The next day, he comes over again, this time with his son. He said his son really wanted to see the PS5, he had heard about it. The boy then said to me that's what he really wanted for Christmas, and hoped Santa would get him one. I replied that he hopefully would, but it's really busy for him this time of year, so he might have to wait a little longer for it. But if not, I'm sure he'd get something nice instead. Another day passes and my fiance said they had posted something weird on social media about how they thought that 2020 would have made people less selfish and more giving, but they were disappointed in their neighborhood, which had forgotten community spirit, and how people should be more thoughtful towards the children in the street, and how much they have suffered this year. Off the back of it, my fiance asked if I should sell them the console just to keep the peace. Later in the day, they came around again to tell me that I had promised their son that he'd be getting a PS5 for Christmas, and now it would be ruined if he didn't get one. She said that I am an adult and should be thinking of kids at Christmas, not acting like one playing video games, and that I was being unbelievably selfish and cruel. He added that he didn't know how he could enjoy Christmas without knowing we were horrible people that ruined a 7-year-old's Christmas. Now, I've also heard from some people on the street that they've been talking shit about us to people, though most neighbors are just staying out of it. But we're definitely getting some daggers from Moms Who Lunch crew. We live in a super nice neighborhood, but it's firmly middle class. Lots of private school kids, called Hattie and Sebastian, etc. And we're definitely the youngest on the street, and the weird childless couple, which I don't think PS5 Gate is helping with. My fiance just wants to sell it to them to end it, but I'm still trying to hold firm. Honestly, feel like I'm losing my mind at this point. If I was in his shoes, I definitely would not sell. It's my PS5. I bought it, I'm gonna enjoy it, and I have no intentions of selling it. I don't care if your 7-year-old kid wants it, and I don't care how much money you put in my face. It's my console. I'm gonna get more fun out of it than that money could provide, and those parents should just buzz off. They couldn't get a PS5 for their kid through regular methods, and they couldn't get it from this guy, so they should just give up. The kid isn't gonna have a PS5 for Christmas. It's not the end of the world. And if your kid acts like it's the end of the world because he's not getting that one thing for Christmas, he shouldn't get anything for Christmas. This is a great lesson in how to not be spoiled. Our final story comes from user Give Me a Break Life. Hi all, been lurking around this sub for quite a while. Recently just passed the requirement to post in this sub, so just wanted to share my story. A little context. My family is pretty well off. My mom and dad has garnered money from land in their business and are able to send me and my 2 siblings to a local international school. The majority of the land they bought were in my mother's name because of a stupid reason, totally unrelated to this story. Remember this point. My mother, however, passed away with a brain tumor before I could even finish high school 5 years ago. But to this day, I'm still affected by that event. Before she passed away, Dad felt that something around the conflicts regarding inheritance would occur, so he tries to clear everything, even visiting the land registry every day for a whole month, and transferring the inheritance into the name of him, me, and my siblings. Now, as all of you will probably know, there's a lot of inheritance involved. Your fam's about to get busy. Enter entitled grandma on my mom's side. There weren't really any issues to begin with. My dad promised to let my grandma stay in the home he and my mom built. The home was registered in my dad's name. He even provided her a monthly payment of approximately $650, which might not sound much, but in my country, it was enough to live comfortably considering she wasn't responsible for rent or other bills. Everything apart from some minor stupid inheritance claims here and there, she seems fine for about 3 years. The 4th year is when shit gets down. Around that time, I was doing a master's degree in the UK, which I recently just graduated at the time of this post. My sister's doing an undergraduate in Australia, and my younger brother is about to graduate high school. As it's always been both of my parents' goal to send us abroad for education, you can pretty much guess the financial burden my dad has now. But my grandmother, however, decides that it's none of her concern and decides to sue. Apparently, according to the lawsuit document, she's entitled to all of the land that is registered in my mom's name prior to her signing it off. The house my dad is letting her live in, along with other stuff worth over millions in US dollars. You might be thinking, what the fuck? But didn't your mom sign the inheritance document? This is where it gets more fucked up. Despite my dad sending my mom to be treated in one of the best and most expensive private hospitals in the country and splurging nearly $1 million in medical treatment, my grandma still claims this person has attempted to indirectly murder my daughter and intends to hog all the inheritance to himself. These included blurting out excuses like tricking her during a not fully conscious state. It's a brain tumor after all. feeding her insanitary green water during her homestay period, or even intentionally instructing the doctors to not fully treat my daughter. What makes my blood boil even more was that my grandma did not care about the fact that me and my siblings, her grandkids, is still financially dependent on my dad for our education and livelihood, and wanted my dad put in jail on charges of inheritance scam. The details of the lawsuit and stuff is complicated, but just to give you a summary, my dad has a upper hand, albeit a few loopholes exist, as all the documents have been signed, and the patient documents did not support any of her stupid claims. He, however, decided to settle the lawsuit in court by saying that he will pay my grandmother $500,000 in cash, allowing her to stay in that home for the rest of her life and allowing her to collect rent on one of my dad's small condos for the rest of her life also. This is on the condition that my grandma cut all family ties with us and never bring the issue of inheritance to court ever again. When I asked my dad why he decided to settle by giving my grandmother money, even though my grandmother filed a lawsuit against him without regards to his financial burden and him still having the upper hand, he simply just uttered, "Your mom loved your grandmother very much, and I promised her I would never hurt your grandmother." The aftermath. The lawsuit was settled about a year ago. If you're wondering what happens after, my mom's family is completely a mess. Last I heard, my grandmother has already burnt through all of the money and is now receiving death threats from her group of relatives as they want in with the share. Now she's begging to see the grandkids she loves so much. Talk about karma. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ailurus, aka Panda Daddy, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you did, let me know in the comments down below, and leave a like if you liked the video. And if you're new to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, fam. What you doing watching videos and not subscribing? And if you're old, make sure you hit that bell so you get these notifications every time. And as always, we gotta thank the Patreon supporters. A thank you to Hostmark, Keith Myers, Hannah, Catherine Taylor, Aerolina, Eva, John Robinson, Ethan, Noah, Muffy Lou Who, Trey, Destroyer, Darth Vader 12, The German Dude, Rusty Nail in Your Foot, Dustin, Willbilly, Arjen, and Vermont. Thank you so much for your support. It is greatly appreciated. And if you want to help support the channel, there are 2 links in the description, one to my Patreon and one to my merch store. Both funds go directly into the channel so we can maintain what's happening here. And as always, stay zesty.